Hi, this is Julie Lewis from Create Community Studios, and welcome back to our Taking Care video series. Today I want to talk about mantra. Mantra is an ancient Hindu or Buddhist practice, and it is usually a word or a group of words or sounds that are repeated over and over again. And mantra has actually been studied, and there is some scientific research behind the way mantra has the ability to calm our nervous systems, improve our positive self-thought, and to help sort of eliminate or quiet the chatter of our mind. So as we are finding ourselves in this difficult time that's causing us a lot of stress, we're staying at home more, we're not out meeting our friends and being in community, and we're finding that it's a little more difficult to cope with the stress of the uncertainty and the fear of the coronavirus and whether or not we will stay healthy and safe. And for me, I found myself getting stuck in that loop of negative thoughts of, what if, and sort of what we call the catastrophic thinking, going to the worst possible scenario. And it takes a lot of work to change that inner dialogue and to change that thought process. And I keep coming back to mantra because it's a very simple tool that will help you to start changing those thoughts and changing that inner dialogue. And I find that when I do that combined with breath, it really helps to center me and ground me and sort of bring me back into the present moment and to get a little bit of the reality check. So what does that have to do with art? You may have read about using mantras and putting them on sticky notes and posting them around your house or writing them on your bathroom mirror as reminders. The thing about mantra is we need to use it regularly and see it regularly in order for it to be powerful. So we can create artwork that will help us and post that artwork and help us see that artwork more frequently to remind us. So I'm going to show you what tools I'm using today, show you a couple of examples and some different ways that you can include imagery. Typically mantra is words or sounds, but certainly that is art, and you can turn that art into a visual expression as well. So I'm just going to tip my camera down now so you can see what materials I'll be working with today. So I've got my watercolors, I've got some brushes and some water, as well as a little paper towel to dab. And I'm using a couple of Sharpie markers as well. So I made a couple of examples so far, and I like to choose really simple words or phrases for my mantras. So this one is essential, crucial to our daily life, but also to helping us cope with some of the anxiety right now. Working on our breath and noticing our breath and being aware of our breath so that we can change it when it's not productive breath. And then this is one that I think we all sort of need to keep hearing, that even though we feel alone, and for those of you who are really self-isolated without family, I think are feeling especially alone right now. And to know that you are not actually alone in the world, and that everybody is going through this. So the imagery that I used here is just, a group of wildflowers to remember that we are in this together, and that's something that we can kind of rely on even when we're solitary. This was more of an expressive painting where I played a little bit with the watercolors to just sort of visualize or create an image of what breathing felt like to me, that sort of expansion of breathing air in to my belly. So those are a couple of examples. I made two more that I just want to show you and show you some watercolor techniques. This feeling will pass is another good mantra that I like to remember, that even though I may be feeling stress in this moment, that will pass and another feeling will come along, and I can actually help to shift those feelings. Even though feelings happen to me, I don't have to choose to stay with that feeling. I can help shift feelings. And so I like the image of the arrow because moving forward and moving beyond and remembering that this moment will pass is helpful right now. And then another one that's been coming up for me a lot is I am strong. So it feels difficult right now to face some of the things that we're doing, parenting, homeschooling, lack of connection, and so just that reminder that we are strong and resilient and can get through this. And so I use the image of a brick wall with a little heart at the bottom. And so I want to show you the watercolor technique that I used on this particular mantra, because that's kind of a fun one to do. So what I do first is I just take a wet brush with no paint on it. So I've just taken it right out of my water. And I'm going to brush, and again, I just used sort of a heavyweight watercolor paper, but you could do this on any kind of tag board or any heavier weight paper. I'm brushing the entire piece of paper with water, and I should have prefaced this by saying I use my Sharpie markers to write with, because you can watercolor over the top of those. So you want to make sure you use some type of a permanent marker when you write. And then I'm going to take a smaller brush, and I'm just going to dab that a little bit, get it a little bit wet and dab that. Then I'm going to choose a color, and I think I'm going to go with some reds and oranges on this. So you get a little bit of color on my brush, and I just kind of dab, and you'll start to see that the color sort of bleeds out on its own a little bit. And that's because the color is touching the water that's already on the paper. So it's a more transparent, translucent kind of watercolor than it is opaque. And then I'm going to just change that color. So I'm going to wash out my brush again. I think I'm going to go to some of these oranges over here. A little more water on that. Orange. I might just start down here. And to me, it's very calming to kind of watch the colors bleed out and sort of transfer through the paper. That's sort of a calming exercise as well. So I can keep going, switching up colors with this, and just playing a little bit with color mixing as well. So I'm bringing some yellow into the edges of this red so that I get another shade of orange in there. And I can go right on top of the words since I've used my permanent marker. So I can keep going with this. I really enjoy just the expressive quality of using very watered down paints. And so notice that I'm kind of dabbing more than I am using any kind of stroke. Okay, so I could keep going with that. I'll come back to that in a minute. Another one of my absolute favorites is to create these little brick walls. It's a visual, it's an image that I use frequently, and I think it just is something that reminds me to be strong and to feel strong. So I'm going to go in with some of the greens, and I just do each individual stone in here, kind of mixing up the colors a little bit, adding a little water from time to time to layer some of my colors, and add a little bit of purple in here. So kind of just going through the various stones and creating my little brick wall. And then once I finish that, I'm going to add just a little red heart at the bottom to remind me that in my strength, I am loved, and we are love, and I am sending that love out to you right now. I want you to remember that you are not alone, and to keep breathing through this, and that this feeling will pass. It will not stay around forever. Let's see if I can get that into my screen a little bit better. This feeling will pass. And we are strong. We can do this. Enjoy some time with your expressive art, and keep following us on YouTube. If you go to our webpage, www.createcommunitystudios.org, you can see our Taking Care video series as well as our Taking Care art boxes to help you practice your expressive arts at home right now. Stay healthy, be well. Thanks.